Welcome everyone, I'm Nikita Aswani and today I'm going to walk you through a very simple yet powerful quick accessibility checklist that is going to help you make websites more inclusive. Whether you are a developer, designer, quality analyst or a project manager, this session will help you providing a quick checklist that you can go through and make sure that your site is welcoming to everyone. A little bit about myself. I'm senior Drupal front-end consultant and accessibility enthusiast. I'm an independent contractor helping clients create accessible and responsive websites. I'm also Acquia Triple certified Drupal developer since 2021. I worked on more than 12 projects in last 7 years. I started my career with Drupal 8 and I worked on some long time Drupal projects. I'm also co-organizer of Drupal Pune, which is in India, for organizing meetups and camps. We also had a Drupal camp Pune last month, and it was a blast. We had more than 200 attendees. It was the first paid Drupal camp in India. I am also trying my best to volunteer at DrupalCons, and lately I have been volunteering to review sessions at DrupalCons. I've helped at DrupalCon Portland, DrupalGovCon, and then here as well. So I'm also user experience, accessibility, and design track lead here at DrupalCon Asia 2024. I'm a movie buff. For every situation, you would only find me watching movie. If I'm sad, happy, excited, if something bad happened for any reason, I'll be just watching a movie. I love traveling and attend Drupal, like music concerts. Tomorrow there's Charlie Puth concert at Singapore and I'm going there as well. Fun or sad fact about me, I'm not really into workout. All right. Let's get into accessibility. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what accessibility is. We have been talking about it for years. Before I get into this, I'll just let you know how I got introduced to accessibility. So back in 2017, when I was working with QED42, I was working on their official website and I was asked to make the website accessible. I was very new to the Drupal world, let alone accessibility, but I got to understand and I got time to research around it and understand how important it is. And the more I read about it, the more I got into accessibility. I also have a brother who is a special child, and so accessibility is something that's really close to my heart. So yeah, that's how I got into accessibility. I've been presenting sessions on accessibility in organizations, at Drupal events, Drupal local camps, meetups, and whatnot. Why accessibility matters is the right thing to do. As human beings and empathetic creatures, it's our responsibility to abide by what's right and make the right decision, to break all the barriers, making sure that everyone is able to access the content that we are working at. And so users are able to engage and participate in day-to-day activities. Another reason is because technology is not limited, obviously. The third one is it is legally required. I personally find it little sad, though I understand why it is important to, make it legally required, but I feel little sad about it because I feel like this should be the least of our concerns. I mean, given that we are in this world and we are working on technology, we should make sure that everyone is able to access that content. But yeah, it is legally required. The web accessibility guidelines are just not just guidelines anymore. They are obligated rules. Create equal opportunities. Yes. So like I said, accessibility isn't just a compliance for me. It's about creating equal opportunities. By making sure that digital content is accessible, we are ensuring that everyone is able to participate and share their ideas by accessing that content. Last but not the least, it promotes usability. When we consider accessibility in our content design or in our digital content, it also enhances accessibility and it results in more intuitive user experience. Who does it benefit? I'm not going to go ahead and talk about people with disabilities. I really hate when someone says something like that. And I personally feel like all of us feel or go through some sort of disability given some circumstances. So for example, yesterday only I was traveling through MRT from the airport to my hotel room, and I wanted to watch some video because I was really tired and I just wanted to watch something to refresh, but I didn't bring my headphones. So here comes the subtitles. It was for the time period, the disability, I was not able to access the content just through audio, so I use subtitles. So yes, it's going to benefit everyone. Accessible online content means that everyone is included. No one is left out of receiving the message that we want to send. This also means that we all can participate and receive the message that we are trying to send to the people, and also that they are able to participate and share their point of views and ideas. But that will only happen if everyone is able to access that content. The accessibility checklist. I had submitted a lot of sessions. This one was the very last session that I submitted. And I'll tell you the reason why before I get into the checklist. So sometime back I was reading this article by this person called Lisa Siebert. She is a business council member of Forbes. So she wrote an article on accessibility where she wrote something like, for the organizations to make their content accessible, I would want them, or I would suggest that they at least go through or make sure that these things are being taken care of. And when she used the word minimum, I just thought it would be great to have that minimum quick accessibility checklist, that irrespective of if client is asking to make the website accessible or not, being developers or designers or QAs, we can just make sure that that checklist is being checked. All right. So these are the few pointers in the checklist that I'm going to talk about. I know these seems quite basic, but trust me, I've recently worked on 2 projects helping clients improve their accessibility on their websites, and these are the common issues that I've seen throughout my career and recently as well. So I feel like it's still important to talk about it and revise these pointers. So we'll talk about the text alternatives first. All the text content, all the non-text content like images or medias should have an alternate text, so that if we are using screen readers, we are able to understand what we are trying to show and user is able to access the content. It includes media captions, subtitles, and translations, video translations, and those sort of things. But more often what I've seen people making mistakes is that then we are adding alternate text to all the images that are present on the website. So there are a few exceptions on Google on the web accessibility website that says that, I'll give you just one example, that if the image is decorative, you don't need to add the alternate text. So when I was helping this client make their project, their website accessible, there were so many issues on so many pages that just said that remove alternate text on this decorative image, which makes a lot of sense, and we shouldn't add alternate text there, and we should leave the alternate attribute empty in those cases. So yes, we have been talking about this for years. It's quite basic, but then we are missing out the exceptions that are also written, and I think it's very important to go through the exceptions as well to make sure that we are implementing accessibility in the right way. Meaningful sequence. So I'm a front-end developer. We use CSS. We play around with the markup using JavaScript, using CSS. So many times we move the blocks around just because we want to show a particular design on mobile or on tablet. We use CSS properties like flex direction, where we change the direction to be reversed, or float properties where we just float a particular content on a different, completely opposite direction. Though I understand that that's what the design asks for, but then it completely messes up the logical sequence of the content. So for someone who's using assistive technology or screen readers to go through the content, what they are seeing and what they are listening is not making sense. The sequence is not correct. And in such cases, I feel like front-end developers play a vital role, because if the design is something like that, it clearly means that the designer is still not well aware of the accessibility. But if you are, while you're grooming the design, you can easily help them understand that this is not feasible and how is it going to mess up with the user experience. So it will be great if we take care of this thing, and then the content will be accessible to everyone. Contrast, color contrast. I know, again, a very basic thing, but I still see websites where we are using some darker shade or lighter shade on the CTA button background with the lighter text on top of it, or at times we just miss out on updating the on hover background color, and so it's not readable. Back then I used to see a lot of such issues, and I'm still seeing these issues. It's not as frequent, I would say, but it's still there. To check for the contrast accessibility, I use WebAIM website's contrast checker. So I'll just show you a quick screenshot of how it looks like. So this is what this is what it looks like, and this is what I use, and I've seen a lot of designers using this as well to check the color contrast, where you can add the hex value, or you can even choose a color from the color picker and for the foreground and the background, and it gives you the contrast ratio. And this helps you make sure that the contrast issues are not there throughout the site. It also helps you understand if it's going to fail on large text or small text, or I think there were at the bottom there were around links and buttons as well. And this is really handy. The next we'll move on to the semantic HTML. Well-structured content. So you won't believe, there were so many issues that I recently resolved was around the heading tag sequence. We were using the wrong heading tag. We were not using the right landmarks, main, aside, header, footer, those sort of things. And it's very important that we use the semantic HTML. We are using the right HTML to showcase the right element on the site. It also includes page regions, like I talked about the landmarks. And when we are using screen reader, back then I think there are some keys that you have to press, and it just gives you the list of all the landmarks that are present on the page. So through that as well, some users are using it to just switch to a particular area on the page. So if you're using proper landmarks, then it's going to help them navigate through the site. Links. We have seen so many designs where links are designed as if it looks like a button. We call it CTA, call to action. The designs are similar, but sometimes it's a button, but sometimes it's just a link. But if you are not using the right markup for it, then it's again messes up with the semantics of it, and then the screen reader also reads it completely different than what we are trying to show. So I have 4 pointers on this. The first one is visuals. So let's say there is some content on a page. We are using this body field, and there's some content on the page, but the links does not have underline. Now I understand there was a time recently where designers were not really liking, keeping an underline on the link, and rather change the color of the link. But then we have to make sure that the color is easily visible and it's obvious to the users that it's a link, so that it's not hidden on the page. The other one is the tab navigation. We all have worked, so on Drupal there is this blog that we create, which is a list of blogs or list of articles, where we show the title of the blog, some small description, and then it says read more. Now Drupal core provides these accessibility features where it says read more on the link, but there is some ARIA label added there which reads that read more about this particular content. So we have to make sure that we are adding the right labels to the links, in case if we are showing some content, some text that is not going to be that meaningful when we are listening about it. This also, so one thing that we also have to take care of is that these things are by default provided by Drupal core. But in cases when we build a design system where we write the markup from scratch, then we have to make sure that we are making these things accessible. Screen reader, like I mentioned, there is one more thing, common mistake that I've noticed is that we say read more link. So if you are adding a link in the anchor tag, screen reader is going to read it as a link, so you don't need to add link again in the text or even in the label. The next is form labels. I think this has been improving now. Back then I was too naive to understand, but now I understand designs quite better. And we have seen these designs where in the form now we don't want to show labels anymore. We are using placeholders. But placeholders are not read by screen readers. So now I've also seen designers evolving as well. I've had some conversation with the designers, and now what we are doing is the design wants to show that the text is inside the input box. It doesn't have to be specifically placeholder. We can either show the label inside the input box so that it's still read by the screen reader, or what we can do is we can add the visually hidden label so that it's still being read by the screen reader. So one of these two ways, but it has to be there. Target size. I'm still seeing this issue on a lot of websites. I'm talking to a lot of people around it. So as per the web accessibility guidelines, the minimum target size for all the elements that has target where you can click, it should be 48 cross 48 pixels. And I think this is something that we need to take care of, especially with that hamburger icon on mobile. Sometimes it's so small that it's not easily clickable, and for that we have to take care of this target size. Page titles and metadata. I understand at times designs are like that where we don't want to showcase the title of the page, rather we are building these components where maybe in the first component you will add h1 tag, but we'll have to make sure that we are adding proper page title and metadata. We can keep it visually hidden, but it has to be there. Responsive design. I know we all have been working on making these designs responsive and implementing the responsive web designs, but there are few components that often break. For example, carousel, hamburger menu with hierarchy of menu items, and also at times there is this horizontal scroll. So we should avoid such things and make sure that user knows what they are checking and if there is more content to it. For example, if there is a carousel, on mobile we should show one slide and half part of the next slide as well, so that they know that they can scroll through it or they can move through the slides and there is more to it. Educate content editors. Especially with Drupal we use Wysiwyg editor, right? What you see is what you get. So there you can add all sort of markup. Sometimes we provide full HTML, sometimes basic, but content editors can add headings, paragraphs, divs, and whatnot. So even if as developers and designers we have made sure that our website is accessible, content editors play a very vital role, because if they are not educated or trained about these accessibility concepts, the content they are adding can fail the accessibility on the website. So it will still be a failure. And it's not that difficult to train content editors. I've done that as well. And if you just let them know, they'll take care of those pointers, maybe prepare a document or something and share it with them. I think that was the last slide. This quote is something like, I think it's been 5 years. I really like this quote, that good design is accessible design. That is it. Yeah, thank you. My name is Nikita Aswani, and these are the contact details. I'm also going to announce one of the winners at the Splash Awards. So you'll see me there, and if nothing, you will also see me at the community booth or at the Drupal CMS party. Thank you.